What's happening? Benton here. Ain't got no home in this world anymore. Is that a good thing? I don't know. Let's talk about it. How is everybody? I see Z is live, I believe. And, I would rather get in where I fit in, but now that they've got me working days, these motherfuckers, this is really the only time I can go live. So it is what it is at that level as we leave the truck stop. The delivery's not until 8 a.m. There's a wrinkle. There's a fly in the ointment, as it were. The fly in the ointment being the truck has developed a serious coolant leak, which I discovered about, 45 miles away from the truck stop I'm leaving. And it's going to have to go into the shop, most likely. My last company, what the fuck? My last company, this happened, although it wasn't quite as serious as this coolant leak. And the attitude of the company was they wanted to do all repairs at their own shop. So I ended up just, adding coolant, and then driving it back to the terminal. This time, I'm pretty sure they're going to have me put it in the shop. And then with it being the weekend, and I don't know, first, most likely it's not going to go to the dealer right away. It'll go to probably the truck stop I'm leaving right now, who most likely won't be able to fix the problem, but maybe they will. You never know. And I'm not a mechanic, by the way. Where's EBT when you need him? And this is where living in the truck becomes fraught with peril. And I'm not able to see anything right now as far as the chat, at least until we get on the big road here. See, I would not be going live right now, except this is literally the only time, or I shouldn't say literally, but this is just about the only time I'm able to do that. I should probably just turn here. Okay, good. And maybe, I don't know if the camera is going to remain mounted to the windshield or not. So we may lose video here, so enjoy it while you can. The thing about this leak, it appears to be leaking at the same rate whether the engine is running or not. And then we get into trying to sleep at a truck stop with the windows open, and then the potential noxious health hazard fumes that can enter the cabin as a result. Part of the reason I'm leaving the truck stop, even though the delivery is not for several more, or for a few more hours rather. Get away from the fumes and be able to run my yap. Shout out to the chat. More and more, I do realize at some level I'm mostly just doing live streams and complaining, about life, while claiming to be a strong person, right? It's interesting though, as I observe the further, as society degrades further and further. And I still enjoy the driving. These are fun to drive for me anyway. I enjoy driving a rig like this. This truck drives great. It's 2019. What do we got? 444,000 miles. And it's normal for a problem like this to occur. But now we get into most likely having to, although maybe I'll just talk to the shop later and say, hey, let me limp this thing back into the shop. So at least then I can move out into another truck or move out into my car. But, having to move out into a hotel without transportation and then I'm not really equipped to, pack up all my belongings and take them to a hotel necessarily. Last time this happened, the hotel just was right next to the dealer, and I was able to, in several trips, carry most of my things, over that I needed. So I guess I really still am homeless or houseless or home free or whatever we're calling it. And there are certainly disadvantages. As much as I lack the desire to live in a domicile like the vast majority of you do. And I've been giving O'Shea a little bit of shit for living in a car, although that's more at the level of his crankiness and his mood. And I just realized I failed to make the third cup of coffee before starting the broadcast. That's a disaster. We're only about 28 miles from the delivery, though. We'll be there shortly. Appreciate everybody riding along. I would expect the numbers to be even smaller than normal. Shout out to OTW News, though. I saw he had like 60, 70 people in there yesterday. Well done, sir. People do love panels, right? The panelists and the audience seem to really enjoy the panels. That doesn't seem to be going away anytime soon. Oh, and shout out to In a Yurt with Books if he happens to see this. I don't know that he's up yet. I'm back on his time zones. I'm on Central Time. Yurt wanted me to do my audience, to fulfill my audience warm-up role for his show, which I'm happy to do, but between the 8 a.m. delivery and the mechanical problems, it's just unfortunately probably not going to be able to do that. And then he emailed me yesterday. I had this problem where I was driving and also dealing with the coolant issues at the time. So I have my excuses, but I've noticed with me, if I don't make myself respond immediately, although no, that's not true. I had not yet discovered the coolant leak, and I was just going to email him back when I stopped for the day. That's what it was. And then by the time I got parked, I was so far behind schedule for my own routine that, of course, I woke up at like midnight thinking, oh shit, I forgot to email Yurt back. Damn it. And I am a bit of a bad friend on some level, or I have been historically. Certainly one of the things I'm working on. Perhaps he will forgive me for that. Shout out to the chat. Let me see. Maybe we can check in with the chat here, perhaps. Yeah, the eyesight, boy, I can't hardly see anything as far as up close. Well, and then when I talk about it being fraught with peril, trying to live in a big rig and do this job, then you get to flank. Then you add my health woes in that, a big part of why I'm even able to function at this level is my very strict routine of eating, getting certain nutrition, supplements, very strict with my diet. And even then, like, my eyesight today is just fucking bad. It hasn't been this bad in a while. And that's directly tied into the malabsorption. Oh, shit. What's happened? Is my video glitch? Did everybody's video go glitchy? Okay, we're back. That was strange. We may be experiencing poor signal. Let me know if there's technical difficulties. What's up, Woody? Good to see you. So I will say this: at this point, I'm more or less ready to just go back to living in the streets. The issue for me is I don't know how to do that and make enough money to be able to afford all the things I'm putting in my body. And please, I understand the problem solving. Let's not loop into problem solving. My ability to reason through this is as high or higher than just about anybody's, and I have access to more information since I am the being. But I do understand the propensity to loop into problem solving. I get it. It's not going to help. But thank you. I appreciate the sentiment. And this is also something interesting where I will become a little bit of a pedant. Because historically, it was not possible to watch a podcast, although that's not exactly true. But in the past, a podcast almost always meant audio only. It's funny how at a certain point, a podcast just ended up becoming like a recorded conversation. And you know, the terms do change over time. Me being an early adopter of podcasts, and I remember many times attempting to explain to people just what is a podcast. So I remember several years where if I mentioned podcast to just about anybody, they would say, "What's a podcast?" Internet radio is what I would generally seem to be the best way. It's an internet radio show. Although now it tends to just be like a YouTube video of people having a conversation. Yeah. Well, yeah, everything's good and bad, right? It's something I realized many years ago. It's not, we are unable to separate the bad from the good. Yeah, I guess everything is good, but then everything is bad, right? Everything that doesn't exist in duality, anyway. What's up, Gary Baxter? Good to see you. Fortunately, the weather was conducive to because I wasn't able to tell. You know, usually a coolant leak is much worse while the engine's running, so I ended up shut the engine off all night and just went to sleep. But then, like I said, we get into the noxious fumes, so I just actually left the windows up, but then opened them this morning and sitting around the sleeper back there and start getting a little lightheaded. Oh well, now the fumes have attacked. I mean, who would even do this job realistically? And this is why, you know, when I see the media hyping everybody, you know, trying to whip people into a frenzy, you know, because of the open borders and the illegals, this country's dependent on open borders and illegals. Because, you know, who would do these jobs? Let's be serious. Who would do these jobs? You know, and I'm about half crazy just for trying to be a truck driver nowadays, I would say. About half crazy. Feel free to check out Z. I won't be hurt. I saw a Butthole Winker drop the new video featuring yours truly, and saying he found my voice double, which I don't know, and it's Dwight Yoakam from the movie Sling Blade, and I don't know if people are aware of this, but Billy Bob Thornton, who wrote and starred in Sling Blade, the movie. Well, Billy Bob is from Arkansas. He's from Arkadelphia, Arkansas, which is not quite the area of Arkansas that I'm from, but it's close enough, right? So that was Dwight Yoakam affecting an Arkansas accent. So perhaps that's why. So he's trying to sound like me, not vice versa. I believe Mr. Yoakam did a good job, though, in that movie. And I don't even know how much I have to say. I mainly just wanted to complain about my lot in life, which is way better than a lot of folks. Let's be serious. Imagine still being one of these normie bozos trapped in the rat race. And you know, excuse me. I could walk away from whatever my belongings are. Escape on foot with whatever supplements I can carry. And I've been wanting to get into fasting. I believe that'll be my next phase of attempting to heal some of these issues. That will probably be fasting. Although especially with somebody with gallbladder issues, I think I'm not going to be going beyond 3 days, 72-hour fast myself. I think that's especially for ladies, but men generally speaking don't have quite the gallbladder issues, but it is possible. And that's the main reason I would say for people to be careful, be cautious around fasting, is that it can certainly bring about or exacerbate gallbladder issues. And Jesus, we talk about, oh, well, Christ fasted 40 days. Yeah, Christ also only ever had organic food his entire life, presumably. He didn't grow up on, nacho cheese Doritos, soda pop, McDonald's, etc. And I had just about the poorest diet imaginable. God, all the way up until my early 30s, I would say, late 20s. Yeah, late 20s. I ate just about as poorly as humanly possible. Woo, this is a particularly bad road. I've been running in the southeast the last couple of days. Not a big fan. Oh, and I did go through Asheville, Gary Baxter, but of course no time or opportunity to stop, certainly. Actually, went right through Asheville. A lot of construction going on in Asheville. Yeah, a lot of road construction in the southeast. A lot of traffic. A lot of beat up roads. Exit 32. Am I still here? I don't know. I noticed the chat has stopped. I guess I'm not being engaging enough. Austin Murphy dropping in to say hi. Good deal. Trashville. I don't know, is it? A lot of places used to be pretty nice, and they've certainly rapidly declined in the last, a lot of this was occurring before the fake pandemic. It's just like I think it's going to be like the recession of the early 2000s, which gets blamed on the terrorist attacks, according to the official fiction anyway. But September the 11th of 2001, that recession gets blamed on 9/11, but in reality, it was already happening. The economic downturn. So a lot of what the country's going through now, and cities in particular, is going to be blamed on the fake pandemic, when in reality, a lot of these issues were already occurring and accelerating. So I saw a really good one of these videos where somebody goes out on foot in the city and shows just how bad it is. It was in downtown Portland, Oregon, which I am intimately familiar with, and what this guy showed, man on the street style, and he has a pretty big channel, and the video had over 1 million views in like six days. I might get on the once I get up here to where I'm stopping to wait for the delivery, I might end this one and hop on the computer, maybe, depending on how good the hotspot data is, or how good the bandwidth is. But Portland was nothing like what I saw in the video. Just the level of violence alone, it's certainly, yeah, rapidly. Yep. Yeah, there you go, Gary. See, that's it's interesting how quickly the situation has degenerated and degraded, on the ground, right? And But then, and this is why I keep hammering this notion of the MAGA, mom and apple pie, American exceptionalism, right wing propaganda being mind control, and its ideologies, and it's as fake as everything else. All these notions, work, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, work hard, and all of these things. It's just not reality, but it's mind control and programming. But people really do believe it. But increasingly, what I'm seeing out of people's behavior, people's apathy, but then I'm expected to, there's these feel-good moments where it's like, thank you for driving a truck and keeping America moving. It's like nobody believes that bullshit. That's just a bunch of hollow platitudes, is what that is. I had all of these nails driven into the floor of the trailer, which fortunately I was able to get out on my own. And part of me injuring myself when I drove the claw hammer into my kidney, part of that ended up being my poor technique. In retrospect, I've leveled up my ability to remove nails from hard wood. Right, I'm a bit of a bozo. I'm not that handy, folks. I'm really not. But so I went into the shop at the truck stop, just to see if, hey, is this the kind of thing y'all would accept money for? And the fact that they told me no, that's one thing. But just the guy's attitude, oh, well, we don't even have a claw hammer. It's like, well, hypothetically, if I'm keeping America moving and thank a trucker, well, I'm pretty sure it's a claw, and what if I'm just physically unable to do it? And we need to keep America moving by moving these nails out of this hardwood, right? And just the guy's posture and body language, and just his whole outlook on the thing, it's this instead of a can do, and it's not him. This is almost everybody nowadays. It's like, how can we just say no, and how can we make this person go away? And this was something that me and Drew identified years ago, when I talked about that society has collapsed. Me and Drew were talking about this however many years ago now, probably almost 4 years ago. That for customer service, the number one goal of customer service is to get me to go away. Like, what can we do or say to make Benton go away? Whereas in the old days, not that things were wonderful, but in the olden days, I feel like there was a little bit more of a chance of whoever I would be seeking assistance from would take ownership of the issue and just, take the bull by the horns and resolve the issue, with something of a decent attitude, right? Oh, okay, well, let's help you out. Let's see what we can do for you, sir. But then when I bought 2 jugs of coolant at the TA I just left, and the gal that, was running the register at the shop, I was just astonished because she was like with it. Now she's probably on, let's be honest, she's probably on Adderall, so of course she's focused and locked in and energetic. But that's fine with me at that level, as long as the person is coherent and competent. I guess I'm willing to excuse some pharmaceutical. I'll be a little hypocritical here, right? But on my way out, I thanked her for actually, knowing things. And I've gotten to where if I'm actually talking to a person in a store, like, that's a course of last resort. I'm trying to avoid, I don't even want to talk to people because, increasingly they just don't know anything. Yeah, it's just completely insane. And I realize that the general public, the way most people's brains work is, our brains begin to seek valid reasons for why the person is behaving that way. And yeah, I understand my brain does that too. But again, since my base level is annoyed, and I'm almost always slightly annoyed by everything that happens. And I am just irritable and irritated to some extent. I recognize that this is where my emotional makeup can be less than helpful, but You know, and I think this is the tism, if that's a thing, which again, autism merely being a collection of behaviors that are all within the normal range for a human, collected together and given a name. So when Toilet Bowl Earth says it doesn't exist, well, he's right on some level. It's abstract. It's not a concrete thing necessarily. But you know, then if I walk away from the and I'll try to get back onto that issue, but necessarily I sort of have to cover these things as they pop into my head. But you know, if I do walk away from this job, you know, which realistically I would be most likely walking away from truck driving altogether. You know, at this point, unless I just stick it out with the long haul, which I may very well do. As longtime listeners will know, I've done this many times where I've said I was going to quit and then only to remain in the job for some period of time. So who even knows at this point? But I really need to probably stay on this job just long enough to, you know, convince some local company somewhere to hire me. But now you get into having to have a place to live and, you know, paying for some sort of room. Although I guess I could just move to Memphis, rent some cheap room by the week. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? It's a fun problem to have. I do enjoy the problem solving aspects, and I think I've over time I've sat with the uncertainty. So, and really, what we're talking about here is a human being, you know, experiencing uncertainty, and then, you know, what are the emotions that come along with that? And I would say in the past, a lot of fear and trepidation went along with that. You know, which and by the way, uncertainty also very disorienting for the majority of folks. Which the exercise of me living in the streets with nothing, you know, part of that exercise was becoming comfortable on some level with, you know, experiencing high levels of fear, trepidation, and disorientation based on those levels of uncertainty. And then, hey, what's up, Nikki? And then the human beings, necessarily, myself included, sort of were set up to seek out, you know, we may call it security, but let's be honest, you know, logically, there's no such thing as security. Oh, did I miss my exit? No, I almost missed my exit. Fantastic. It's funny, sometimes I just noticed that the screen on my GPS glitched out, my GPS software, but that actually prompted me not to miss my exit. Huh. Maybe perhaps that's divine intervention. So when you hear people talk about security, and especially ladies, although men, you know, in 50 years will all be chicks, as Adam Carolla titled his first book. You know, there's something to that also. Males becoming more female-like in some ways, while females are having to increasingly taking on male roles. Huh. I almost just parked. I paid $22 to park at that truck stop. I almost just stopped on an on-ramp, but I wasn't sure how Tennessee felt about that, and I did not want to risk getting a ticket. But it looks like I most likely could have gotten away with it. Somebody try to remember me what I was saying, if you would. Focusing on the driving here. I think I remember what I was going to say, maybe. Well, and this is also, you know, if I could brag a little bit, I think this is where some of my broadcasts, parts of my broadcast resonate is, you know, eventually I will typically get around to discussing aspects of this human experience that, you know, we all, you know, interface with these ideas and concepts in our own way, you know, to some extent. So there is a common denominator there, right? And me, you know, out of necessity, having to figure these things out in order to, you know, maintain my sanity. All right, one mile out. This will be interesting. The place we're delivering to is apparently headquartered in Japan. We'll see what that experience is like. And I was debating on whether or not to even make this delivery, since I was at the truck stop where the shop is. But I figured we might as well go ahead and deliver the load. And with it being this time of year, I can always use water. You know, I can mix the coolant with water if I need to. Although technically one is supposed to use distilled water, and I have spring water. But regardless, I'm sure the cooling system's going to get drained anyway. Well, I'm making a delivery, Nikki. Loads in the trailer. But for whatever reason, most of these companies I've worked for, they don't like to tell me ahead of time where I'm going to be going next. So I have no idea where they want me to pick up at the next load. I don't think they even know. We are in Lewisburg, Tennessee, Mr. Crumley. Yeah, this is the spot on the left, although I don't believe you folks can see it. All right. Shipping, yeah, receiving is up ahead. Yeah, we're early. Now, do I want to go up here and just park on the turnaround, or do I want to do no semis? I think that's what that said. No something, no parking. Just enough room to maybe turn around here. It's amazing how many of these facilities just aren't really designed. The layout of the ground is, you know, the way the property's laid out. It's not really designed for what it's being used for. See that gigantic, there's a gigantic hole over there. People making this U-turn that I'm making. Now we're off-roading, and this is, yeah, I could barely even make that turn without tearing up the wings, whatever those are called, the fairings on the back of the truck. Realize I don't believe this trailer is sealed. I could probably just get out and open the doors. I'm just going to stop here. Tennessee ain't no place Gary Baxter would rather be. How about you? Wonder if it's even worth checking in. I'm like 2.5 hours early. Give me a second. Oh, here I am. Off duty break. Hmm. 15 in the house. I'm assuming everybody else is over with Z. Man. Yeah, I did not sleep very well last night. I think I've just gotten so used to sleeping with the engine running and the AC blasting. Oh, man. That's another thing about being homeless and trying to sleep outside, dude. I don't really sleep in the summer. It's so fucking hot. Maybe like 3 hours a night. Ah, shit. Mm. And I forgot not to rub my eyes. I prepared my meals earlier, so all kind of onion and radish and whatnot all over my hands. Then man, my fingertips are all tore up. I need to get some gloves, like some food prep gloves. Not healing. I keep cutting my fingertips or just the heat or whatever. Keep fucking them up and they're not healing. Well, there's a bunch of people moving around out here. I don't know what they're doing. This facility might be 24 hours. They don't look Japanese, but I can't really tell. Not pickup trucks, though, in the parking lot. There's only one pickup truck. They may very well be people not from here. Although we are fairly close to Nashville. So, the locals typically all drive pickup trucks. Go for a skate. I left the skateboard in my car. So good idea. But yeah, when I was talking about the disorientation and the uncertainty, I feel like I've mastered that to the most for the most part. Kill this other cam. Okay. Can you hear me now? Too many phones. Don't ever get multiple phones. Terrible idea. And then sometimes if I turn the volume all the way down on my phone, StreamYard it'll still play the audio from the stream for whatever reason. Not sure why that is. Do we have sound now? Yes? Okay, good. I never bothered to dig my camera rig set up for the sleeper cab broadcast. But I think it's time for, oh God, time for some more coffee. Look at this mess. It's like 3 or 4 times a day of organizing and putting things away. Yeah, big fun. Big fun. Okay. Let's see, where can I put this? All right. Oh, those backlights are terrible. Anybody got anything? By the way, like I say, I mostly went live just, I guess I felt like I needed to complain to some folks over the internet. I knew that was going to happen. Yes, it's never going to stay there, is it? Oh yeah, here's the slow cooker. This thing. That's what I cook all my veggies in. Slow cooker. What's Z talking about over there? I guess Yurt will be live here, what, about 8? So what's that? Hour and a half? 2.5 hours? 2.5 hours. Aliens landing in Nevada. Oh my God. Mars attacks. I just can't do it. I can't. I don't know if this was Drew reprogrammed my brain, with the post conspiracy and all of this, but I can't process it anymore. The news. I was the junkiest of the news junkies in the past. I can't even deal with it. Oh, Trump indicted, by the way. Lest we forget. Not that anything's ever going to come of that. I like to point out to folks, we don't send anybody to prison in this country at the federal level, or even like corporate executives. If you look at and all this financial stuff. Now, Enron was an exception. Four of those executives went to prison, but other than the exceptions that arguably prove the rule, we don't send people to prison in this country for things like that. So, although I'm wondering increasingly if the main objective of all this Trump stuff is to make it to where he's not able to run for president. So I don't know. What do y'all think? Yeah. Well, some people are. Some people are not. Some people are not burned out on the news site. Yurt seems to be, and I understand what Yurt's doing. He's putting his own spin on it, on the news items, but I got no, whatever it is within a human being that responds to the news cycle, it's gone. I can't even pretend to fake it at this point. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's being old. I would say that generally folks get more into the news cycle as they get older. I know when I was 20, it was the older folks who were into the news cycle, not that the 20-year-olds didn't give a fuck. I wouldn't blame it on age. I think, not that I subscribe to this idea of waking up, but if a person is raising their level of consciousness, then I guess presumably this stuff just gets, as the population gets dumber, then because in the past, when the populace wasn't quite as dumb, then the narratives Shit. Hang on, I'm not good at multitasking. Then the narratives had to make a little more sense. But the more that the population dumbs down, the narratives can be more and more just on their face ridiculous, which is what I believe we're seeing. Yeah. Yeah, I used to read back during the pandemic, the fake pandemic, I was reading like 50 articles a day, like no bullshit, every day. And I was reading the paper in the 80s when I was a kid. So, generally I've at least kept up with the news no matter what. But yeah, fuck it. It's gotten too ridiculous. I'm not able to process it anymore. So that may limit me being able to contribute to Yurt's show, because although maybe if he has me do the audience warm up, although if my schedule even allows at this point, but I guess if he has me do the audience warm up here and there, I can I can make fun of the normie narratives, I suppose. Yeah. And I think my opinion is the fake pandemics are going to be more or less like the economic cycles. It's going to be like a banking collapse. It's about every 15 years. It seems like that's what's happening now. So um, that's what I would think, which is about the 15 years is about the time of one generation. So as far as the education of one generation, so right about the time the next fake pandemic rolls around, I think it'll be right about the time we got a new generation of people that did not experience the last one. Get them indoctrinated and up to speed. What's that like? We got like 10 to 12 more years, or whatever, however that works. Not that I'll necessarily be here then. That'll be y'all's problem if you're still here. Beam me up, Scotty. I'm trying to get out of here, man. Y'all can have it. Ain't got no home in this world anymore. And somebody was asking me, somebody whose name I've never seen, who claims to be a long-time listener. So that's a bit of a tell as to who that might be. But want to know what the title means? I don't know. You tell me. You figure it out. How would I know what it means? Yeah. Well, there's a little bit of truth mixed in, right? A little bit of truth mixed in. What's up? What's up? Grinding the beans. Coffee time. Where's mine? And imagine living in such a tiny space and just I lose everything gets lost. Oh, there it is, right in front of my face. Losing everything. Yep. But it's payday, so that's nice. I have not been. Well, I've been working every day, so my paycheck is going to be decent. But I'm not killing myself like I was with my last job. So I think what about $1,300. I think, if I remember correctly. And they do that. This company does that escrow I was telling you about. For if they hire, I guess they take 150 out of like the first 10 paychecks as a way to, if the driver quits or abandons the rig or tears something up, they can defer some of their costs, I guess. Which I don't have a problem with, partially because I started getting a paycheck right away. I know with that last company, it was bizarre how much they held back. Like it took so long to start getting a paycheck, and I realized, oh, that's them doing an escrow without saying that they're doing an escrow. So I think they still probably owed me another paycheck and just kept it. Although maybe they mailed it, and it was, since my dad had moved, I wasn't at that address any longer. That's also possible. I don't know. Not really motivated to find out. It's just money, right? Well, it's a good day when I can have coffee. I know that. Already had 2 cups. There's my fancy boy kettle there. Oops. Careful, fancy boy. He's a fancy boy. Oh, might want to put the top on it there, Bubba. Might want to put the top on it there, Bubba. $20 is $20. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know that I agree, JT. I've given a person that was definitely a homeless person, but most likely a black dude in Charlotte. I gave him $20. He was just got to his corner at like 5 a.m. or something. Then I think that last 20 I gave away I think that guy ended up being a scammer. I'm pretty sure, but whatever. I ain't too worried about it. Yeah, hey, it's like $20 on Amazon. I love all these cheap consumer goods. Later, JT. Lullaby and good night. No, I don't do the French press, Gary, because the cleanup of a French press, if one does not have a sink, is a horrific nightmare. So we do the pour over because with the pour over, it's very easy to dispose of the grounds afterwards. There is a bit of a technique involved with the pour over, though. I think that's what keeps a lot of people away from it. But I have enough practice now that I actually get really good results with the pour over. I would probably prefer a French press overall, but the cleanup is just in a big rig with no sink would just be a nightmare. So no French press. Thing with the pour over is that until one learns some technique, it's the results can be poor, certainly. And then the technique varies based on the actual, the beans themselves. Like this is probably going to be under extracted, but it'll be all right. Where the hell is my spoon? This is Starbucks beans from Walmart. Usually I get some stuff I get off of Amazon, but I'd ran out. A little too oily for my taste. I like the beans that aren't quite as oily. Yeah. I'm a little lost with the billboard combo, but that's all right, I suppose. Where does it all end up, folks? What's it all about? Existential crisis. some level, to some degree, but not really. Not really. Actually, I think this is going to come out just about perfect. Yeah. I even got my dad on the pour over, believe it or not, although I don't think his technique's not very good, but he was drinking, oh my God, when he moved into his apartment, he got like just like the great value fucking, coffee ground up coffee. Oh, it's terrible, man. There was a couple of times when before I went back to work, I was staying in his apartment and I just, like, instead of making coffee, and I was literally panhandling at the time, I was walking to the gas station because you could get a cup of coffee for $1. I was going over there paying for it. That's how bad that stuff was. But I bought him a grinder and a setup and a kettle and everything so he could do the pour over. But yeah, back to the uncertainty. I have no idea. Am I gonna keep working? Is this truck gonna get fixed today? Am I gonna end up in a hotel for God knows how long? I think last time it was like I think it was like 5 nights in a hotel last time I had a breakdown on the road. Yeah. Well, here's the thing about coffee is it's really, are you grinding your own beans or not? Because if you're not grinding your own beans, the automatic machine is completely fine. And even if you grind your own beans, the automatic machines can be, depending on. But if you just go to the store and buy like the $20 coffee maker and pre-ground coffee, that's not the same as grinding. It's just not. Even if you ground your own beans and put it through one of those cheap machines, it would still be like it's a night and day difference. Yeah. Yeah, I like French press. It's, like I said, with living in the big rig, it's but yeah, if you have a house, if you have a sink and a kitchen, yeah, French press. But I would say further, grind your own beans. Even if you just get the cheap ass, like they sell this 8 o'clock coffee. It's actually pretty decent, the whole beans that they sell at Walmart, but it's got a little bit of a chemical flavor. I can tell there's some chemicals in there, but um, Amazon's got some whole beans that are affordable. I like the Kona blends. It's usually like 10% Kona. Actually, this is what I've been getting. And this is supposedly the same brand that McDonald's uses. And McDonald's, I actually like their just getting black coffee. Theirs is pretty decent. But this stuff, this Don Francisco, this is I think like $12 for 18 ounces whole bean. Yeah, Arabica with 10% Kona. What's up, Mr. McLovin? London man in the house. But see, here's my cleanup. Just throw that in the trash and I'm done. That's why I love the pour over. I threw my trash out. That's what happened. Some Walmart bags. And with O'Shea, this is, and I would never recommend that anybody go into truck driving, but just based on him living in that car, this is a much more luxurious lifestyle compared to what Brian's doing in a sedan. And man, even when I had a car, well, I have a car now, but even when I was, camping out, being homeless, and had a vehicle, I would still pitch a tent. Dude, it sucks sleeping in a car, man. Suck. I hate it. It's no wonder he's cranky and irritable, and he's getting old too. I don't think he realizes just how much on the verge of cranky old man he is. Yeah, I know that I know I'm fully there. Better close these windows. I like these Volvos. They got pretty nice windows back here in the sleeper. All right. What the What's that? Something made a beep. I don't know what it was. Oh, yeah. Better tell the APU to go into battery charger mode. Yeah, we're good. Yeah, I've heard lemon and coffee can be a good combo. I haven't tried it yet myself. With some of my digestive issues, it'll either be the best thing ever or the worst thing ever. I'm not really sure. So my kidneys have been doing pretty well, though. I think where is this? This Yogi Detox Tea they sell at Walmart. What is this stuff here? Bam. That's probably been just about the best thing for my kidneys of late. Sarsaparilla, cinnamon bark, ginger root, licorice root, burdock root, dandelion root, cardamom pod, clove bud, black pepper, juniper berry extract, yellow dock root, red clover leaf, and flower. And I've got some nettle tincture and horsetail tincture. And then I'm almost out of this chaga mushroom with birch bark. Birch bark is supposed to be especially good. I know the camera won't focus on this. Yeah, it's not going to do it. But yeah, this stuff. Almost gone. Only got a few doses left. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, life's good, my friend. 47, cranky as hell. Yeah, man. Ain't you all right? I'm right there with you, Bubba. Well, that's one thing about the licorice. The licorice actually, that can become problematic. So I only do 1 cup of that a day. And I was doing a lot of ginger tea, which was helpful on a certain level, but most of that ginger tea you can get at the store. Most of that has licorice in it. And that licorice, man, that can turn on you. So watch out for the licorice. That can actually cause problems. Oh, you getting a house? Are you buying a house? What are you doing? Remod? Hey, what's up? Oh yeah, I'm back to trucking. Coolant leak. So I discovered it about 45 miles from the truck stop yesterday, and it might be the actual reservoir leaking. I couldn't really tell, but I noticed I shut the engine off last night, and it leaked out, at about the same rate. So maybe I'll get lucky and they can fix it at the shop. I'm going to deliver this load. I wouldn't mind taking the weekend off, but yeah, I'm back to it, sir, and 1099 this time, and I'm going to try to figure out what to do about these taxes. But I got some options. Pale Horse Rider, not sure who that is, but good to see you. I'm a little suspicious of some of the new names, but I'm trying to embrace it. So yeah, I like that, the positive energy. Yeah, but yeah, so and that's Big L, by the way. Where did he go? Dallas Don Juan, where is he? Yeah. He's told me some of the things he goes through truck driving, man. It's actually, some of what he's gone through is far beyond what I've dealt with. So I will say this, Big L, that while I haven't done any dropping and hooking, and I think I've been on this job about 3 weeks now. This will be my second paycheck today, but I'm only hooked up to the same trailer for the most part. So I do like that I don't have to deal with, picking up this equipment that the 50-cent drivers, as Big L calls them, have, and by the way, it's like, I get stuff. Some people never get something fixed on a trailer. I'm like 50-50, but certain things can't be avoided, but mine's kind of like, okay, like I will or I won't, but some of these guys never do. And the equipment's good. They've got good equipment. Even this old truck they put me in, a 2019 Volvo, it's in great shape, but any truck can have a problem. So yeah, coolant leak. When you remember that first Kenworth, that white Kenworth that Balkan had me in, that thing started leaking, or not leaking. It the turbo went out. I was in the shop for 5 days. But yeah, I'm doing good, Big L, except for trying to live in a truck, and now it's about to be hot, and all of those things I like to whine and cry about. But I do enjoy the driving, I must say, the actual driving. Although I've been in the southeast quite a bit lately. Between the traffic and the road construction, man, no fun. So I know you're dealing with California, which isn't any fun either, but at least you got a lot of open road out there, good miles, right? But I'm 65 cents a mile, and of course no taxes. But the government's going to want their money at some point. But I also think I'm pretty sure I can do the what do they call that? The per diem, which will actually cut my tax liability quite a bit. Because since I'm never, it's like it's based on how many nights away from home one is, and technically my home is I'm never near my home. So what's considered my legal residence. So I can do per diem, max out the per diem. So even if I end up paying the government, which I probably will for some of this, I don't think it's going to be that much. Yeah, I think so. But I didn't know anything about it really, and when I started, the company seemed confused that I did not have my own corporation. Right? I guess most people do it through a S corp or an LLC. But I was looking at the paperwork. I can actually apparently do a trust. I can have it. The money can be paid out to a trust. I might do that. And we had Highly Suspect was in the house like a month ago, and he filed all the paperwork to do he gave up his U.S. citizenship, and he's considered an American state national now. So he's working at his job, and they're not taking anything out of his check. And he said he had to go to HR, and they were a little confused at first, but apparently there's a system in place to facilitate all these things. So I think eventually I'm going to do some version of that. But although I don't know how that works with my CDL, and going through if I ever go back out west, going through the border checkpoint, they want to know what happens if I say I'm not a U.S. citizen, right? Because they do ask you sometimes. But maybe then they're like, what? And I'm American state national. I don't know. I need to research it more. But my health's holding up for the most part. What's up, Music Holds a Secret? Good to see you, sir. I hope Z's not offended. If anybody talks to him, tell him that this is just the only time I can do this right now. It's the only time in my schedule today. Although, well, except for uncertainty, I may have the whole rest of the day, depending on. But then, if I have to put the truck in the shop, which I will have to do, I'm at least going to have it looked at. So then, I'm not able to be in the truck for that time. Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, and that's why the thing about Highly Suspect is he works all the time. Like he's a hardworking, a good hardworking American. So his time is limited to be here. But we had him in the house one morning, and he was telling us all about it. Well, you're definitely tipping your hand here, Marblar. You're tipping your hand, sir. Whoa, with that comment, yeah, tipping your hand. Yeah. Because I guess then you have to get into what constitutes a United States citizen. I do want to point out that I think a good starting point is to realize that the Supreme Court has ruled in the past that Americans don't have a Bill of Rights, or you don't have a constitutional right based on being a United States citizen. I think that's important to realize. They said that your rights, and don't ever take my word for this stuff. Do your own research, right? But my understanding of this is that the Supreme Court has said whatever your rights are derived from you being a citizen or a resident or a national of your state that you were born in. So for Big L, that would be Texas. For me, it would be Arkansas. It's not. Oh, look, we're getting a getting paid. But yeah, that the fact that being a United States citizen doesn't confer those rights. So, so now we get into what is a United States citizen, and then what is the United States, right? And then that's where things go off into left field, and the people like Drew and Chalkbody and Toilet Bowl Earth start to get and EBT start to get triggered, because then we get into what is, then there's two, there's a United States all caps, and then there's the United States of America, and those are apparently two different entities, and it becomes so schizophrenic so quickly. And I see both sides of it, right? And I've looked into this material also, and it does seem to be a lot of this is based on legal fiction and legalese, right? And just the reality that the all caps name on your driver's license, your birth certificate. And by the way, since I was born in a time warp in Arkansas, when I was a little kid, for whatever reason, I had a copy of my birth certificate. I don't know why I had to have it. For some reason, I needed it. I had, with a sealed, stamped, version. Actually, I think it was a photocopy of I think maybe my parents had the one with the raised seal, and I had a photocopy, I'm pretty sure. But it wasn't all caps. My name was it was on a literal typewriter, and I had my name typed out, capital J ASON and, small cap. But then at some point, the state of Arkansas, I guess they standardized, everybody has an identical format birth certificate. So now when I go to Little Rock and pay the $12 or whatever it is, and all I have to do is show my ID, my Arkansas driver's license, and for like $12 they give me, I think maybe and like a car registration or something, they give me my birth certificate. And it's all caps. It's a completely different format. Well, see, and that's where we get into, like what Lori Chavez is talking about here. There's so many different entities and legalese, and it's so detail oriented. The average person is just not going to have an ability to track all of these things. And what I found is that, Wizard has a lot of knowledge, and I know Mitchell has a lot of knowledge, and Mitchell comes the closest. He says, and it's up to the individual to understand and comprehend well enough so that they can sort of administer, whatever needs to be administered. But this idea of just like watching some YouTube videos and then correcting one's status, I don't really think that's a thing, until the person really understands what's going on. But I haven't run into anybody that can break down all of the aspects and understand it well enough that somebody like me could understand it. So we get lost in the weeds, and I'm not trying to pick on you, Lori Chavez, but see, now what's happening is just like non sequitur information. It's just like, well, this thing and that thing and this thing and that thing, and like that doesn't do until the person studies it and understands it. We don't really know what you mean. It's not connected to anything. My thing is, okay, let's say that I don't want to be involved in the beast system, or I want to limit my involvement. How do I do that without getting in trouble, right? And all of this just saying, well, this thing is this and that thing is that. Like that doesn't ever amount to anything. Which is why I think Mitchell is the most on the money, where he said, look, until the individual understands the purpose behind what is being done, it's not really going to matter, because the system is set up to trick us out of our position, to borrow, Paul's term, right? That the system, so that even if the person watches the YouTube videos and says, well, this is that and that is this, and all I have to do, I file this with that entity and I do this over here. Well, the person, if they lack the understanding behind how it really works, then they will most likely get tricked out of position yet again. But I can see why people like Drew and EBT and Toilet Bowl Earth, they tap out of these conversations, because it just very quick, every time the conversation goes off into left field, and it sounds like a bunch, and no offense to anybody, but it sounds like a bunch of schizophrenics just talking about schizophrenic things, because there's so many facets to this stuff, and the legalese is so complicated on purpose and so intertwined on purpose. And so when people start discussing the various aspects and the intertwinings of the legalese without a clear objective, like what is the goal, right? What's the goal of these discussions? Then I can see why certain people with certain personality types or certain perspectives, why they're just like, I'm out. Because at some level, it's just easier to give the government the 30%. Without, I mean, it's almost worth 30% just not to fucking think about this shit, right? Well, but here's the thing: is it's my understanding. It's always going to come back to my understanding, and this is so until I go and study. And for me, the way my brain works is I go and read everything. I mean everything. So until I go and do that, I enjoy at an entertainment level. I like listening to Wizard. I like when Highly Suspect was on here giving his personal account of what he's done, right? But none of that is going to do anything for me in my life until I reach some level of understanding within myself. See, this is not something that somebody else can give to me, and necessarily. No, that's just how it works, right? Yeah. Yeah, there you go, Gary. Mm. But I do have the mind of a lawyer to some extent. I do have a very good ability to track all of these various details. I've proven an ability to track many details in real time. So, my thing has just been a general laziness or like a general malaise and an apathy around, in the past, I was very much interested in various topics. And a lot of the things I discuss on here started out by me gathering a lot of information and then having my own personal experiences. So I can't really have my own personal experiences until I go out and with this type of material until I go and take in the information. But I don't learn from people telling me things. I learn from me going and reading first, like read the fucking manual type of stuff. Well, but and I'm not trying to be. This is the only way I can convey this. So I'm not trying to offend you, but probably this is going to sound offensive. I just cannot interface with what you're saying here. It's almost like the Charlie Brown teacher. Like you're just saying things that I understand you have an intention and some comprehension of what you're saying, but it doesn't mean anything to me. It's just, and I know that on some level I am the audience, meaning that if I can't make heads or tails out of what you're saying, I know that a lot of the audience can't either. And that's not your fault. It's not possible to take this structure and this legalese and all these legal entities. They're so complicated you cannot boil them down to simple statements and then convey that to somebody else simply. That's just not something that can happen. And that's why these discussions never go anywhere. And that's why every time Wizard launches into one of his explanations, I can tell that he understands what he's talking about, but I have no fucking idea what he's talking about. And in fact, I just tune out because I know, well, I can't make heads or tails out of what he's saying anyway. And when you get into the beneficiary and the trust, it's like, well, part of my autism, if that's what it is I need to have somebody explain to me like I'm fucking like I'm 6 years old. What is the beneficiary? What do you mean by the beneficiary? What do you mean by the trust? Until somebody can sit there with me and sit there until I know exactly what that means. But you can't just type it in one sentence and now I understand what that means. See? And that's why Mitchell, as much as he's out of his fucking mind most of the time, that's why I give Mitchell a lot of credit, because he just says, look, it's about the person understanding these things for themselves so that they can practice them and operate in the real world. Until then, we're just people talking about things that really we only understand to varying degrees, right? So, That's just, it is what it is, and I can't do anything about that. It is what it is, you know. And I think that's why Paul, and I do believe Paul's had a lot of real world effectiveness, because I do think that, and that's why he really got my attention. Paul did, because the first time I ever came across Paul was I was listening to all of the Crow 777 podcasts, and so when the one with Paul came on, which I think might have been his second appearance, but I'm not really sure, but either way, whichever one it was, when they broke down his Paul's famous video, um, every time Crow kind of tried to go off into these the actual legal, legalese, Paul would always bring it back to the spiritual. And Paul, I think, has really, probably at a young age somehow, just sort of figured out, or was able to apprehend that, the reality is, the reason why all this legal fiction and the legalese and the complication exists is because, when they talk about they have to tell us or whatever, well, the reality is that whatever these entities are, they don't have free will. So spiritually, the nefarious actors, what I referred to as the administrators of Satan's kingdom, the servants of Satan, they have no choice but to adhere to these spiritual laws. Even if they themselves are beyond redemption, they cannot break some of these laws. So Paul, that's why if you really closely listen to what Paul's saying, he will. So if Paul does get arrested, and he says that they let him go and give him all his property back, and he never signs anything, a lot of people don't believe that. I believe it, or I'm willing to take him at his word. But then if you really listen to what he's saying, he bases it on more or less that he just refuses to let them trick him out of position, meaning he's not consenting to the legalese. And then, so the legal system is bluffing, 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 bluffing. And then when all of their bluff attempts fail, at the end of the day, they have no choice but to adhere to the spiritual law, meaning they have to just let him go. So until I can understand it within myself well enough to practice those things, and how can Paul practice these things without being, see, I don't know that one has to become an expert in these legal fictions, but the reality is I've allowed myself, whether knowingly or unknowingly, to become so enmeshed in these fictions that now, in order to untangle myself, probably I'm going to have to, actually study, their overly complicated legal system, right? Because it's certainly not my system. I'm not the one that did this. But again, and it's nothing against Lori. So there's another thing is where really, if we are going to have a community, somebody needs to come to these levels of understanding that's also really good at breaking every idea down into its most basic component, that's my area of expertise. But then until I get to the level of understanding, I'm not able to do that. See, so I have observed there's certain people who have reached these levels of understanding within themselves, but then those are not the type of people who have this autistic or pedantic ability to just deconstruct every little aspect. And then, there are people who, like myself, I can listen to all of those breakdowns. But again, it always comes back to bad on purpose, or the system is overly complicated on purpose. It's always going to come back to that. So there's really no way to address the complications without somebody like me learning enough about it to be able to break down each little idea to its smallest possible component, like a backwards, like a backwards engineering. And I haven't seen that out of anybody yet. But I think it's going to happen. Like, I am optimistic. I think it will happen at some point. Well, and this is where I'll push back a little bit. The reality is our psychologies are a product of this beast system, whether we like it or not. And all of us. Now, certainly we can rise above, we can transcend. Individuals can overcome those limitations. Individuals can deprogram themselves. But all of us, 100% of us, our psychologies are literal products of this beast system, whether we like it or not. And that's just the reality of the situation. So as much as we might claim, it's really not possible to opt out of this system entirely as far as and exist in this realm. Now maybe I'm wrong. Now that last part is an opinion, but it is interesting, certainly. These are certainly interesting topics. Yeah, yeah, Mitchell. Yeah. Well, he spurgs out, and he's got some issues certainly, and he's been going in on Yerk quite a bit. He was going in on me for a while, and still does to some extent, but he's hasn't been hounding me. He's mostly been hounding Yerk lately. But when he's not in that mode, Mitchell's brings a lot to the table. So it is what it is. I'm not talking about you as a human. I'm talking about your psychology. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about I'm not talking about your essence. See, that's simply untrue. The reality is when you were 10 years old, unless your parents were hippies and you just never had, because I've met people that never had a birth certificate. You weren't born in hospitals, never were signed up for any of it, none of it. I've met those people, never injected. Most of us have been injected. Most of us, you know, have a birth certificate or had one. Most of us, our parents went out and got us a social security card. I had one at a very young age. You know, when I was 10 years old, I believed this. Now, maybe there's exceptions. I mean, there's some people who were 10 years old and just intuitively understood it's a bunch of bullshit, right? And maybe Paul's one of those people. But 99% of us, whether we like it or not, our psychology and our conscious mind, you know, uh, was formed by this system, period. And we were raised by people whose psychologies were formed by this system. So that's just for 99% of us, that's just true fact. Now we can talk about, what is my spirit? What is my essence? And again, I ain't got no home in this world anymore. So in this context, home could be this beast system. Well, I'm not from this beast system, but I'm operating in the beast system via a psychology that was formed and is a product of the beast system. And I've undergone years and years and years of reprogramming my mind, and it's still a product of the system to some extent. And I've met very few people who've done more of that work than I have. So I understand people can learn certain intellectual knowledge and say, well, I'm not a part of this anyway. Well, but you kind of are, you know. Now, maybe you're getting away from that, or maybe you have gotten away from that. It is what it is. It's being tricked out of position from day one for most people. There are some exceptions. What's up, Big Drink Tea? Good to see you. Oh, Mitchell's not trolling. See, that's not trolling. No, that's not trolling. What's up? He really believes all that. No, that's not trolling. Nope. That's he's got some issues, but so do a lot of folks. But anyway, I guess I'm going to wrap it up, folks. I might be back. I don't know. I'm going to go in here and see if these guys want to unload me. Actually, I might just step away for a moment. Yeah, I'll just step away and come back. I still got 40% battery, so good to see you, Mr. Miyagi. Mr. Me. All right, let me type this in. Break time, BRB. Short break, be right back. I'm going to go in here and check and see if they want to unload me early. Not that there'll be anywhere to park at the truck stop, but either way. All right, we're back. Yeah, the door's open, but there's some guys driving around on forklifts, but I don't think anything's going to happen till 8, so, which is, who cares? I don't even care. I'm hoping, I was looking at this coolant leak, though. I'm hoping, unfortunately, I'm leaking coolant all over their nice asphalt here, but I'm hoping I'll get lucky and um, might just be a hose or something. Might be able to fix it today. Who knows? Yeah, I know, man. Well, that's what I said, man. Is OTW he had 70 people yesterday afternoon, um, but he's the odd man out. If we're all three of us are live, it seems like he's the odd man out. One day he had like 4 people on the panel and like 4 people. I noticed I'm not a mod over there anymore either. I don't know if that's because I do talk shit. I'm a bit of a shit talker, so I don't know if maybe you heard me talking shit. Actually, he hasn't been in the live chat over here in a while either, so I might have offended him. No telling. Is that what they're doing? I can't. Like I said, I can't deal with it. It's Mars Attacks. Just I think about that stupid movie Mars Attacks. I'm out. I'm out. Oh man. Who knows, man? I don't know I can't call it. I don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. I guess it's almost grapefruit time. Grapefruit and orange. Where? Oh shit! Oh, there goes a lemon. Almost caught it with my cat-like reflexes. Yeah, 2 grapefruits and an orange. I've been having every day for I don't know, like a month now, probably. Been treating my gallbladder good. We come in peace. Yeah, there you go. Mars Attacks. And now the greenhouse effect is becoming a thing. I don't have any curtains for the front. They were all. I guess it was still the original curtains, and they were all tore up. So I took them down, removed them. Yeah, motivation is lacking today, folks. I may have the whole weekend off. Who knows? But that would be a good thing if the truck got fixed just in time this afternoon for my dispatcher to go home and or for me not to be able to get a load over the weekend. That's pretty bad. Like I say, I like driving the truck, but I wouldn't mind having the weekend off either. Oh, let's see. Wait a minute. How much? I know I got paid a few minutes ago. Oh, never mind. That's the phone I'm on. I don't know, Bob. That's a good question. I don't know that I have any advice necessarily. Um, my thing that I've told people in the past is I'm not very good at answering a general question. As much as I like to generalize and speak in broad, general terms, much of the time, I'm good at answering specific questions. If it's in a field that I have some experience in. But my thing is just recognizing how disorienting a lot of the changes can be. Um, so I think a lot of folks, when I observe like earlier versions of myself, and when I observe other folks, I don't think people really have much of a comprehension of what does it mean to be disoriented, and then the fact that most humans were very much, averse to any sorts of disorientation, that's why I think, some of the so-called truthers get confused because, we learn certain, indisputable facts about the realm, right? And we believe, oh, if only we tell other people, then they will now be changed by this information. So, I've been studying for a while. So when So, because there was a time when I believed I could go around and deliver this, dispense this information to these people. And then I saw that people would reject it, or they would agree with me to some extent, but then they would kind of refuse to take the next logical step. And eventually I realized, oh, in order for them to accept this new data, well, that now calls all their other data into question, all these things that have been programmed into their mind. And for them to fully accept this information that they're being given, that requires them now they have to view all these other things in a new light. And to do that is disorienting, because they and us individuals are oriented based on past experience, based on things working a certain type of way, based on having certain views of certain phenomenon or phenomena. And to have that all be taken away, that's why people cling to that, to their current understanding, is because to let that current understanding go is to be untethered or unmoored, and now just a ship, or now we're just floating around in space and don't know what we're doing or where we're going, right? So for me, I have a lot of experience when living in the streets with nothing. I was able to more or less force myself to experience disorientation, to be disoriented in those ways, but then to trust, then have faith, and know, that I will, that everything always works out. Now, it doesn't work out the way we might want it to, or the way we might expect it to, but so that's the practice on that level. Is so, and even me to this day, I still, like, on some level, I am clinging to this lifestyle in a way, because in light of my health issues, it will be disorienting for me to just uh, give up this lifestyle. But again, like, I have the money to replace whatever these possessions are in this truck. So if I needed to, I could just walk away from this thing if I needed to. But I don't want to, and then I would rather be able to keep my things, or I'd rather at least be able to get back to my car with my things. The things I own end up owning me on some level. Like, that is true, right? Yeah, again, I do, Bob, but it's I can only really answer specific questions. Other than that, but thank you, I appreciate it. But other than that, it's just sort of me pontificating and philosophizing, right? And that's and I'm not accusing the audience of this, but on some level, I found it confusing that rarely am I asked a specific question, but a lot of the knowledge I've obtained over time has been when I've had a certain goal of knowledge, or learning how to do a thing, and then recognizing, oh, this person has some knowledge, or this person knows how to do that thing, and then finding that person and asking that person specific questions. I've learned a lot that way, but I've just realized most people are not set up to seek, in that way. But I'm just not that good at just broadly being like, what's your advice broadly? It's like, well, I don't really have any broadly. Yeah, there you go. That's a good, yeah, Mr. Me. And Mr. Me came up. Tommy brought you up the other day, and this is what I said about Mr. Me is I said the thing is he's got a lot of good ideas, and he understands. He has a lot of understanding, a deep understanding in many ways. So that's I do value that, Mr. Me. Yeah, indeed, sir, indeed. Because I find it amazing. We all have different experiences, yet many come to the same conclusion. Yep, indeed, sir. Yeah, there you go, Terry Miller. Exactly. Due to the treachery of the space aliens, we need world government and a world space force. Well, and then that reminds me of that movie, Starship Troopers. If you remember that, it was, you know, part of going off to fight the bugs was to earn one's citizenship, because unlike what we have now, where a person's born here and it's presumed that citizenship comes along with being born here. If you look at some of the themes of that movie, Starship Troopers, I think some of that is what we're starting to see. Some of that is what we're starting to see with all this alien stuff, right? These narratives, and that was, the movie Starship Troopers. That was sort of the society coming together to fight this, terrifying outside enemy, right? And then the ways in which society is structured, as a result. Yeah. So that's worth a rewatch, possibly. Starship Troopers, in light of the what seems to be, in light of the introduction, the seeming introduction of these topics. And I thought about something this morning that we're starting to see in the narratives that was introduced many years ago, and I should have written it down. I've forgotten what it was. But I don't think it was aliens, but it was something that's been promoted in the mainstream narratives of late, but I can't remember what it was. Yeah, there you go. Yep, civilization being what it is, one dreams of revenge. Yeah, I can relate to those feelings. Yeah, there you go. That was entertaining. Yeah, certainly, certainly. Well, it's worth, and again, yeah, it's a entertaining movie that also I think, I can recognize some patterns because I believe that thing was from the '90s. I'm pretty sure, maybe late '90s, mid '90s. Been a while now. Paul Verhoeven, I believe. Is that who made that? Oldie but goodie. Yeah, there you go. Well, I don't know. I guess I'm gonna fuck off and see. I'm procrastinating because I know that there's a chance I'll be moving out of this rig, at least into a hotel. So I need to start. When I told myself, after I quit my last job, that I was gonna I was gonna buy some, like some duffel bags maybe, and organize my things. I was at least planning to just do totes where I could at least throw everything into totes. Then I got lazy and failed to do so. It's gonna take like an hour or two to really figure out what I need to take to a hotel versus what I need to leave here. I don't know. Good problem to have, I guess. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's a good question. Good question. What's up? I can't call it. Anyway, I guess we'll let Z have the rest of it, and I guess Yurt's going live in like an hour and 15. Although maybe I don't know if I can get checked in early enough. Maybe of course, I already told him I'm not doing the audience warm up. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. But thanks for watching. Bye.